two more pitchers, who are the other two? Is it a righty lefty? Is it two lefties?
I'm going to guess the guys that have gotten there, Madison and McFarland. Also because they're left-handed.
But you think Brad Brock's out there?
He's been a little cold lately, but O'Day's been cold too lately.
Well, O'Day's there. I mean, O'Day's crucial.
I think Galvin would replace Brock as like a hard-throwing right-hander, so I think maybe you could go with the left-handers.
So you'd have four left-handers out of the bullpen.
Yeah.
And only Darren O'Day, but of course you got Gausman too.
Right, Gausman can pitch one inning power pitch, or you can go two innings and that. But I think McFarland would be there for long because he's a lefty and for multiple innings. Hopefully, you don't have to have you really don't want to have you want to use the starter and then bring in Miller, then bring in Britton and end the game.
That's not what's going to happen. Let's be real.
You don't know. You don't know.
You don't know, but
I remember the Orioles played the Dodgers and we shut them out the last three games. You would say, "Oh, that's not going to happen." If that would happen, the Dodgers with Koufax and Drysdale.
Wayne.
Well, I guess by the time you get, depending on how the series is going, by the time you get to game 3, 4, 5, you'll use whoever you have to use to get to the next game if we end up in a deficit situation. So it sort of changes the way you look at a pitching staff when things get desperate.
How many off games are there? Is there a day off between the first two games?
He has a day. I think there's two games, and then they're off on Saturday, and they come back Sunday in Detroit, and Monday in Detroit, and then I think they're off till Wednesday.
Well, then your pitching staff has plenty of time to recuperate. That's why you can use lesser guys.
But they're going to use four. He's already said he's using.
They always use four starters. Because none of these guys pitch well on 3 days rest. The Oriole pitchers pitch better mostly on 5 days rest, other than Tillman, who seems to pitch pretty well with regular intervals. But there's no reason the Orioles can't beat this team.
So, how about Tillman versus, as the opening starter? He's not been sharp lately.
If you look at his overall numbers, he's just one of the top pitchers in baseball, believe it or not. Sharp, he is the string of 20 straight quote-unquote quality starts of at least 6 innings and 3 runs or less. And he had that to his last game, last night. 20 starts consecutive like that.
So how excited are you to be knowing that you're going out there? Because I remember going to playoff games.
I'm ecstatic. I can't wait. I'll be honest with you. I love our position as the division winner. That meant a lot to me, and I think to every Oriole fan. That
the team, you don't have to play a one-game,
right,
do or die game.
We don't want to play that wild card game because in one game anything happens. It's just unknown as to what can happen in the wild card game. And that's how it should be. It should be the division winners are the only.
You finally made some important something before. It wasn't that you could have backed it and probably been in a better situation than. But now you got to play the one and done. You want to win the division.
Wasn't it a few years ago the Yankees didn't want to play Oakland and there was
you used to try to manufacture your finish to suit your matchup in the first round.
I'll be honest with you, Freddie, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. All right, if the Orioles can get past Detroit, I believe they're going all the way. I really do. I don't fear anybody in the other half of the draw in the American League, and I really don't fear anybody in the National League. I guess the Dodgers we haven't seen with their pitching, and the Nationals we've seen enough to know we certainly can play with them. And the Giants and the Pirates, when we played the Pirates, I felt like we were the better team. I forgot if we won 2 out of 3 or not, but to me it felt like we were the better team. And I don't, and the Cardinals are always the wild card, but when you got John Lackey as one of your starters, I don't fear that team.
The Orioles are, again, every team is flawed, but the way the Orioles have played the last 60 or 70 games, you can throw out the last couple of days. Last couple of days was giving guys rest, particularly not playing them on the AstroTurf in Toronto. But up to the last few days, they've been playing their ERA's third best in baseball or the American League.
Has Paredes, fielded himself off the team?
I don't know if he's fielded off the team, but I think he's cost them any chance of starting at third base.
Oh, there's no way. There's no way.
No, I think Flaherty's going to play third, and Scope's going to play second. And Buck's going to put his best defensive team out there and pitching and defense, and go with the old adage: pitching and defense wins championships.
So, is there room for Kelly Johnson?
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
Experience and 11 at bat. He's played in about 30 playoff games. Yeah, because I don't think they need an extra outfit. I think like Lowe could get cut, even though he's played decently recently, because Diaza is going to play left field every game.
And you got to keep Delman young. I've noticed that David Lowe's picked up from a 200 hitter to about a 246. Had he played like this before, you might have never gotten Diaza. But
Probably
hey,
not, because they've had confidence in him playing, in the field as well as at bat. But he just never hit. And then when he got on base, he got ticked off. It was like, what is this?
Hats off to Duquette for getting Diaza. This is what an addition to this squad that he's been.
His speed, defense, he creates things, and he's just he hit like about 10 out of 11 games, 12 out of 14. He's right there.
He had a homer the other.
And they have him next year back because they have him locked up. So, here's a guy that needed to change the scenery, and boy, it's woken him up.
he's a guy Bruce brings up waiting to see Davis hit or Cruz hit. And Diaz is one of the few guys we have that when he gets on base, you pay attention because he's just exciting.
Nothing's better than watching him hit a ball down the line and run into a triple.
Yeah.
This guy
You
is.
see the guy from Toronto last night had 2 triples. He's a 21-year-old rookie. And he had a double and 2 triples. And you see this guy just hits in the gap as soon as it seems like he's a deer.
Why in the world was this guy lingering in the minors all year?
Injured for a couple of years. Hamate bones in both wrists 2 years in a row. So he was out with surgeries for 2 years.
Toronto seems to have caught that bug that every year you go, oh, Toronto's really put a team together this year, and nothing happens.
You can't buy a team that's old.
You got to have them with the right mix of players. And the Orioles finally have some guys they're homegrown, which is a first for a long, long time. And the guys they brought in are just guys that really fit in well. It's similar to what Boston did last year, bringing in guys that just, well, I don't know about him or that, but they just fit in really well. Johnny Gomes, Napoli, they just fit in really perfectly with the team, and it's all part of winning.
And as usual, Freddie, I give you the last word. We got to head to break.
All right, go Terps, go Ravens, and come on, Birds.
All right, no one ever asked to be injured. When this situation is thrust upon you or a member of your family, you have a right and duty to protect yourself and your family from financial harm. Science and Kirk will provide immediate assistance in getting medical care, securing lost wages, and advising on property damage and claim analysis. Call Science and Kirk's free injury hotline 24/7 at 1-800-LAWYERS. I've known Donald for over 50 years, and there is no one better to represent you. And of course, tomorrow morning, in the nest with Donald and myself, we'll preview the Carolina game, take a look around the NFL, and I promise it will be a Ray Rice free zone tomorrow. We will not talk about the situation. It's been talked to the end where I can't talk about it anymore. This is Bruce Posner. You're listening to Coons Ford Terp Talk. I'm sorry, Coons Ford presents the Sports Maven. We'll be back in a few minutes. Talk a little Maryland football and Ravens football. TBS Sports Radio.
Baltimore Neurosurgery and Spine Center, whose
I
goal
gotta
is
tell you.
to provide the highest quality of care to our patients. We strive to apply
Going through this
leading-edge
show
treatment
is like,
strategies,
it's like
including
there's so
complex
much going
spine
on
and brain
around here.
surgery,
The Ravens and
interventional pain management, and physical
You
therapy.
can't get to it all.
The group
Yeah,
is led by
exactly.
Dr.
You can't get
Ira
any of the
Norazik,
periphery
who's
stuff.
joined by Dr. James Conway,
I
Dr.
keep
H.
saying this, I
Christopher
haven't done
Wilson,
it yet.
Dr.
but
James
it took a
Frazier
while to
in
get
the
to
field
this.
of neurological
Maybe we
and spine
should,
surgery. Dr. Seth
see if we want to go to
specializes
Delhi.
in
We can talk about
interventional pain management. Baltimore
And
Neurosurgery and Spine Center
do a
is located
video
at
show.
505
Show
Point
over the
Queensspring
internet.
Avenue.
Just once.
Call them for an
It's a video
appointment
show.
at
5432,000.
We'll promote it,
410-3680. That's
especially as the football season goes on.
410-664.
And then maybe we'll do it. It's halfway through
When you
Maryland
need
season,
insurance,
the
whether
Ravens
it's
and
personal
Redskins
or
are
for your
done.
business, there's only
Before
one
we
company in
do,
the Baltimore
we'll
area
take
that you
the-
should deal
once
with,
I
and
wanna
that's
do this
Mayor and
in the
Steinberg
Tap
and its owner,
Okay.
Paul Robinson.
Yeah,
Mayor and
tell them so
Steinberg
they
is a
can bring people.
55-year-old
We'll take
insurance
the Wednesday
agency,
show on
family-owned and
Tuesday, but we'll
operated.
do
We
an extra
specialize
hour.
in property, liability, workers' compensation,
take
and
the
auto
best hour
insurance
of it
for the following
and
industries:
use that.
painting, plumbing,
When it
HVAC,
says it,
electrical
so
and
we'll go on
painting
to Tuesday.
You know
contractors,
what? It's
door and
easier
window
just to do a
installers,
video show.
landscape contractors,
In other
shopping
words,
center
we'll
owners,
promote
furniture
it.
installers, and
Your
hotels
site, my
and
site,
hotels. Since
on the
Mayor and
radio.
Steinberg
Then we had a
provides
special
coverage for
video
some
show.
30 carriers
It's coming
like
up
the
tomorrow.
Travelers, the
Oh,
Hartford,
no, on the
CNA,
Wednesday
and
show.
Zurich.
And then on
shop your
Thursday,
current
we'll play it.
insurance coverages,
I
and in
was
many
thinking that-
instances,
right.
save you.
That's
It's too
probably-
much that you won't have to send it here.
Right.
And also, I gotta tell you
Call
what,
Paul Robinson
it's a
at
good
Mayor
test.
in Steinberg,
Yeah.
410-484-7000.
What would
That's
happen.
410-484-7000.
When anyone in Northwest
Doing a
Baltimore
video
talks
show.
about the
Show
best dry
now,
cleaners in
Nobody
town,
was watching.
one
And in
name
the middle of that, we
services,
lost the
and
damn
that, of
video
course,
feed for the
is
first time.
Parsons. Michael and
Oh,
Mitchell
good
have
show.
instituted the
This one,
Parsonizing
yeah, so I
process
had to do a
for
restart
years
on it.
now.
So
And
there's two
folks, let me
parts to
tell
it.
you,
But
no
it'll be
one
up there.
does it
People
better.
watch
Just
it.
bring it up, we'll
Located
put it
at
up later.
1852 Reisterstown Road in
I didn't get
Pikesville,
the email
and
or I lost it.
11,299 Owensville
Maybe I
Boulevard.
mistyped
That's
it.
Parsonizing Cleaners.
I'll find
See
it.
the
I was like,
Parson
Next
brothers.
time,
I
if you
just
get one of
discovered
them,
a great
you
little
get the other.
neighborhood gourmet pizza and Italian type
Well, I should've
restaurant in the
emailed
harbor
you.
area.
Well, I
Bagby
don't know.
Pizza on
You know,
1006
that's
Fleet
good.
Street is just a great,
But
fun place
actually,
to have lunch
Paul,
or dinner.
I like, you know what I like to do? I like to see how
Baggy's
many people
features
call me
gourmet
up and
pizza,
say,
pastas, and salads at more
Yeah.
than reasonable prices. Service is quick. There's plenty of
Well,
seating.
you'll
Happy
go
hour
back
specials Monday
today
through
and
Friday
put it
before
up.
7
So
p.m.
he's the
But
show.
most important,
Right.
the food is superb. Bagby Pizza, 410-605-0444. Kurt Buck is proud to welcome Glenbury
What I wanted to
Transmissions
do,
as a new sponsor,
and maybe we'll do it
located
next
at
week,
7166
is
Ritchie
next week,
Highway,
we'll
Glenbury.
when I
For
come
over
back,
50 years,
for the second
Glenbury
break, we'll say,
Transmissions offers
tomorrow's
free
the-
towing
in the
from the
next-
DC
Tell me about
area.
in the-
Transmissions
that's
for
what I
all
said.
imports and
That's what I was
domestics.
gonna do,
Go
is
to
tell me who's on the market. And please, don't bring up the Reds. I'm not gonna bring up
www.gbpinc.com for a
I'm not gonna bring up Ray
quotation
Rice,
or
but tomorrow
call
we're gonna talk.
President Mark Schwartzman
And
at
then BB had us the
800-458-2661.
I gotta figure out how to
That's
incorporate that Redskins segment
800-458-2661.
We're going to
Glenbury
delete.
Transmissions.
Yeah.
Mark Atman and Atman's
I
Delicatessen
don't
have
know
been
how to
serving
usually
Baltimore
What
for
we
over
probably
81 years.
should do
It's just a fact that
is
Atman's open
we'll
7
leave it-
maybe at the end of the
1019
break,
East Lombard Street
I mean,
has
before
the
the break.
best corned beef and
before
deli in
break,
town.
or
But now
say
they've
we do the
expanded
Maryland minute,
into the
and we
catering
listen
side.
to it comes
Have
in
a
all
Lombard
yesterday,
Street
right?
party.
Maryland game,
Or
we
use
go on.
Atman's for your
Oh,
condolence
What we
trays.
did last
Well,
year.
you
Check
know
it
what,
out
maybe
on
we'll do the Maryland
atmansdeli.com or call
Let you do that instead.
410-563-2666 and
This
ask for
one of these
Elaine.
things might
I
do.
love Atman's Deli.
Tune in to 105.7
hard.
The Fan after
Yeah,
every
it
football
is
game for the
hard having
Baltimore
a
Game
team
Day
that you root
Uncensored
for your
post-game
whole
show,
life.
sponsored
Just
by
nothing about
Football,
that.
Nationwide Insurance, and
For
Checkpoint
20
Strike
years.
Force.
Back.
This is the Sports Maven Show, presented by Coons Ford of Security Boulevard. Now, here's the Maven himself, Bruce Posner.
I was just talking with Wayne about how incredible there's so much to talk about that because of the super performance of the Orioles, and of course the Ravens are looking pretty good at 2-1 with the home game against Carolina. You know, Wayne, do you remember this guy James Hurst from Carolina, the left tackle?
No, I actually don't.
No, I didn't. I'll be honest with you, I had never heard of him either. But James Hurst is going to start at left tackle tomorrow for the Ravens because Eugene Monroe is out. Left tackle is like very serious, needless to say.
And he's not out just for one game. He's out for a couple of weeks.
2 or 3 weeks, yeah. But his reputation at Carolina was just incredible that he never allowed a sack his senior year. And it's curious to see how he's going to do tomorrow. But tomorrow's key point of the game is how will Steve Smith do against the Carolina Panthers? Because there seems to be some really bad blood there.
Well, I would have said a lifetime Panther. I wouldn't have thought he would have left. I thought he got along great with that offense. He does just what he does for the Ravens.
What did he do to make himself not wanted? I don't understand. The guy's unbelievable.
It might have just been money. Also, they said he was getting old. He wasn't making the big plays down the field in the past couple of years that he had before. He was a big downfield threat. If you remember the game that Cam Newton, his first NFL game, put the most yards up for any NFL rookie. Most of those yards went to Steve Smith on deep balls. But see now the Ravens use Smith as the slot receiver. I think the Ravens actually have caught a little lightning in a bottle there, having Smith to one side, the other Smith, our Maryland Torrey Smith, to the other, and making defenses respect both sides of the field. It's a great balanced offense. That's what you expect out of Kubiak.
Well, let me say this much about Steve Smith. The one thing I can't figure out, it's funny. I asked that question, how could they let Steve Smith go? Do you think the 49ers said, how could they let Anquan go?
Well, last year, yeah. This year, the 49ers offense and that pistol look has pretty much been demystified on offense. It's really the offense that's let them down more than the defense in San Francisco.
But anyway, Steve Smith, it's incredible. I can't wait to watch him. I'll put the binos on him specific tomorrow because I've got to see this guy's always open. He's always open. You don't see him fighting for balls like Bolden had to. He is always open. And to be that far open to win the game against the Browns last week, that wasn't like a game where the Ravens played bad. I don't think they had a turnover. They played fine. They just went up against a team that's much better than people think with an excellent quarterback.
Yeah, can you imagine saying Hoyer's an excellent quarterback?
He is. He played great last week.
So without Heap, and it might be there I go again. Without your tight end Dennis Pitta, who hurt his hip again.
Yes.
Do you think he's ever going to play again?
I have my doubts. I have my doubts. Is he going to be effective again? All right, that's my problem. And how can you play when the way he went down untouched?
Yeah, I hate that part.
The untouched part. I mean, and to be in agony, untouched. It's not like he slipped or anything.
I've blown out my knee a couple times. I'd rather have a blown out knee than have my hip go bad.
The hip's the worst. I mean, look, it ended Bo Jackson's career. It's ended a lot of careers.
But that's going to change the coverage. Is Owen Daniels enough of a threat?
I believe he will, and they'll still have their two tight ends set up. And, things are going to change. There's no question about it. It has to change without Dennis Pitta's presence there. But we need to talk about Torrey a little bit. Torrey's been like the forgotten guy. Now, people say that. And there was an article about it in the paper the other day. But you have to remember, Torrey had 2 touchdowns taken away from him because the defenders interfered. One guy grabbed him by the face mask and threw him to the ground. All right. And in another play against the Steelers, he was totally mugged going for a touchdown.
And that was a beautiful setup of the offense. You were waiting for him to go deep, and so were the Steelers. They had to tackle him instead of letting him catch a touchdown.
Right. And Torrey just never been able to get great separation. He really hasn't. But he's been able to produce, and he's still producing. So I'm not as concerned about that. But let's be real. Steve Smith gets that far wide open in the key moment of the game. Joe puts the ball on the money, but I'll be honest with you, I think any quarterback could have put that one on the money, except maybe Kirk Cousins. But well, Kirk was not good.
He would have completed the pass to somebody. He might not have been wearing the right jersey color.
I tell you what.
Hey, he melted down. The first one, the second one, when he got to the third and fourth interceptions,
it didn't matter.
Meltdown. The defense for the Redskins missing 6 guys. They only had 11 guys who could play, maybe 10 to begin with. You knocked 5 of them out. The defense of that game lost before Kirk, melted down?
They talk about, let's get to the University of Maryland a little bit. Almost out of time. It's almost unbelievable. The Boston Celtics will say that the death of Len Bias really hurt the franchise. Because he was going to be, you don't get that first pick or first 2 picks often.
Right.
And when you get it, or you get that kind of player, he's going to be an impact guy.
For a long time.
And that affected that franchise. Everybody will say that. Watching the Football Life last night, and I never really watched Sean Taylor.
Sean Taylor was a beast.
He was absolutely unbelievable in what I saw. I mean, his timing, everything about his game.
He was our Ed Reed from a Redskins perspective.
And, the loss of Sean Taylor could have been that one segment that really sent the Redskins in a continual spiral downhill. Do you agree?
In many ways, yeah.
Has that ever been said over in Washington?
Yes. They let go of Ryan Clark, who you guys know went to the Steelers. They paid Sean Taylor more money. Sean Taylor passes away. LaRon Landry, I think, really got affected by that. He becomes the next safety who stepped in. That didn't work out. And the defensive backfield really hasn't been solid since. You lost a Hall of Fame player.
I mean, they talk about in Washington about D'Angelo Hall, him not. I mean, look, he's a good player. He's not a Sean Taylor. He's not a Ed Reed. He's not a playmaker.
No, that's not a franchise shakedown move there. That is the best defensive back the Redskins had.
All right, so we talked a little bit about the Ravens. We'll do that for an hour tomorrow on the Sports Maven. Preview that game against the Carolina Panthers, 9 o'clock.
In the Nest.
9 o'clock with Donald Science on right here on 1300. Let's get to the University of Maryland Terrapins, who today, and I think what the longest wait for a football game has been, and that's Maryland going to the Big Ten. This was the purpose. It was about football. It really wasn't about basketball. It was about increasing revenue. It was about TV coverage. We're on the Big Ten Network today. Big game today at IU, at Indiana, the first Big Ten game, football game ever for Maryland in the conference. And you're pretty confident today, Wayne.
Pretty confident. You're going to face an air raid offense in Indiana that actually runs the ball a lot more than you would think. They haven't been great. They lost to Bowling Green, although they had a good game last week, beat Missouri at Missouri. I think Maryland probably going to go 27-21 Terps. I've been impressed. Of course, on the other show, we said Will Likely at this point, a cornerback out of Florida, is probably your MVP. But
It's amazing how that position, when it's dominant, look how Ed Reed affected the Ravens all those years. And look at whenever you see a great team. I remember when the Indianapolis Colts won the Super Bowl. Peyton Manning is Peyton Manning, but it was that defensive back, that little guy who was the hard hitter. His name's escaping me. No, Darian, look that up for me. Bob Sanders.
Yeah.
Bob Sanders. Bob Sanders was the key to that team. Bob Sanders came into Baltimore and shut down the Baltimore offense. And it seems like when you have that guy, of course, Ray Lewis, the Ravens had two of them, all right, for years. But when you have that guy, Deion Sanders,
Yep, that's the guy.
what could be a better example than Deion Sanders?
Even Revis Island, when he was good for the Jets, really helped
How
that.
about Richard Sherman?
Richard Sherman's a lot bigger guy. I like it when you bring up these little guys that have these huge impact, because Will Likely, as big of an impact he has, he's 5'7".
Let's be real. Do the Seahawks win the Super Bowl without Cam Chancellor?
Oh, that guy can hit. He hits clean. Boy, does he hit hard.
Well, when you lose a guy like that, or you don't have a guy like that, it's a different ball game. And even in the remotest way, nobody's going to tell me that Bernard Pollard wasn't a key factor for the Ravens in their Super Bowl run.
That play against New England when he knocked out the guy and created a
Fumble
turnover,
at the end of the game.
that was a big, huge
It made a statement, and it ended the game. And so you need that guy on defense. That could be the most important guy on your team.
So we're talking about these
Will
big
Likely.
hits.
So we go back to Will Likely's not a big hitter, but Will Likely is a playmaker.
Big play, punt returns, interception returns for a touchdown. On the other corner, since this is an Indiana team that's billed as an air raid offense, Maryland loses the cornerback Alvin Hill. Had surgery the other day and he might be out for the year. So you're going to see Jeremiah Johnson. You're going to see Anthony Nixon at safety. And you're going to see, I think you're going to see a lot of pressure on the defensive backfield. Sean Davis is the other safety. And you're going to hear a lot of those names today as Maryland goes to Bloomington, Indiana, has one of the best steakhouses that Bruce likes. What's the name of that place?
St. Elmo's. Listen, Darian, is Cole Ferran healthy? Is he playing?
That's what obviously doesn't talk about injuries, but from what I know, from what I've heard, I think he is playing.
Right. To say Etzel doesn't talk about injuries is an understatement.
Right. It is the witness protection program in College Park. You don't know what's going on. But the L.A. Gorey, who had 17 tackles a couple weeks ago, missed some significant time. Cole Ferran, number 47 for the Terps, both run stuffers. He's been out. Savon Walker, who has been rushing the quarterback like crazy.
Avon,
He's out.
Andrew Isaacs is going for there. All right, real quick, let's take a look at the NFL, at the big games tomorrow. Carolina and the Ravens. I definitely see the Ravens winning. I think that's a revenge game for Steve Smith Sr., and the Ravens are tough at home, although I'm seeing a lot of people pick Carolina. New Orleans and Dallas, big game. The Saints are -3, and they really play poorly on the road.
They have, but they're back sort of inside on turf, on field turf. They are horrible on grass. So I'm going to pick the surface as much as the stadium. They had a good game in Atlanta in the Dome, just lost at the end.
San Fran and Philadelphia, you're going to start hearing whispers of San Fran losers. They're 3.5-point favorites at home. I just can't see them losing at home again.
I don't know. The offense has just disappeared. The defense, which everybody had problems with, has been okay. Offense has been horrible. This pistol offense, just the NFL's figured it out. And I'm going to look for a lot more teams to try and do the Chip Kelly look of what he's done in Philadelphia.
All right, the two pick'em games for tomorrow, Green Bay and Chicago. Who do you like? It's at Chicago.
I'm sticking with Chicago. Green Bay looks like they have some serious trouble there.
Yeah, I think Green Bay, I like Green Bay. All right, I'll leave it at that. Aaron Rodgers, I think he knows how important the game is. And the Jets, talk about bad performances last week. The Jets are at home against Detroit. That game is pick'em. Another tough game.
I think Detroit might have figured it out at least enough to win a division finally.
Right. I don't know. And the Redskins, their next game is against Seattle.
Seattle, a Monday night. Redskins over the last 6 night games. Last time they won a
Put that one in the loss column.
Yeah.
The Nickel Tap House before we go. This place is special, 1604 Kelly Avenue in Mount Washington. Absolutely love it. I've been there many, many times. Love their roast beef sandwiches, a mixture, all the fine wines and craft beers. But their menu is so wide, so vast. They have fried chicken, ribs, crab claws. It just crosses the entire spectrum. It's a great venue to go to. Valet parking. You don't have to worry about parking over at 1604 Kelly Avenue in Mount Washington. That's the Nickel Tap House. We're going to try and do a remote there, Wayne. Have a lot of fun.
That'd be great.
And one thing's for sure, we'll be eating good. So, once again, this weekend, we don't need a split. We need the Ravens to defeat Carolina. And for Maryland to defeat IU, come home 4-1 next Saturday against Ohio State. That would be insane. This is Bruce Posner. You've been listening to Coons Ford Presents the Sports Maven. We'll see you tomorrow morning on Science at Kirk Presents In the Nest. Wayne, thank you as always, and we'll see you again. We'll see you in 2 weeks, correct?
Absolutely.
All righty.
Everybody looking on YouTube, thanks for watching.
We'll have this whole show up on YouTube later on.